Our Adrian Wojnarowski sharing this, who will be with us momentarily. Jazz star Donovan Mitchell has tested positive for the coronavirus, league sources telling ESPN. Jazz players privately say that Rudy Gobert had been careless in the locker room, touching other players and their belongings. Obviously, this is the second player on the Jazz. The hotel in Oklahoma City where the Jazz were staying has now been closed to the public. Woj, kind enough to join us now. I know it's been a busy week for you. Woj, what's the latest you're hearing on all of this?
Well, certainly a great deal of frustration on Donovan Mitchell's part, and I think some other teammates in Utah. What you saw with Rudy Gobert in that news conference, kind of the cavalier attitude he had with the media, where you saw him touching the microphones and putting his hands on things on his way out. I was told that he carried that similar attitude into the locker room, and the fear is now that he helped to transmit the coronavirus to a teammate. Donovan Mitchell has tested positive, and now there are two members of the Utah Jazz, a team that has been a serious contender in the Western Conference, and a team with significant aspirations this season. This is on a lot of levels a very difficult scenario for that organization.
Woj, we all know that Rudy Gobert is a good guy. He's a relatively kind and affable guy. We're not going to accuse him of having any malice intent. But that's coming from us. Based on the information you've acquired and who you've talked to, what's the attitude like towards Rudy Gobert at this particular moment, in light of the fact that he was so playful and, dare I say, irresponsible with his behavior?
Yeah, I think just the lack of seriousness with which he took this, and you saw him do it again in a very public setting, and I'm told he did it privately in the locker room, and there's consequences, and now the team is faced with consequences for those actions, and it is a situation that's going to have to be addressed within this locker room. They may not be back together on the court for quite a while, but teams are going to be allowed to practice. They're going to be allowed to work out of their facilities moving forward. But obviously, there's going to be a period of time, certainly for those two players and others with Utah, where they may not be. They're not going to be in the gym on the court together immediately.
Woj, this is hitting sports particularly hard because in times of war, in times of tragedy, in times of economic crisis, people could use sports as a distraction. But now suddenly there may not be sports for a hot minute. Your reporting somehow just got even more valuable. Like, this is the stuff we are following now. Is Gobert, has anyone said anything? Has he made any comment or given any indication that he will use himself as a cautionary tale? In other words, make some kind of public pronouncement about his behavior, about what not to do? It seems like he could be useful in that way.
Yeah, absolutely, Max. I don't know at this time what his plans are, how he plans to address it. I do know that the Utah organization, it's one of the best in the league. They've got really strong leadership there. Dennis Lindsey, their president, Justin Zanuck, their GM, Quinn Snyder, their coach, and then go through that roster. It's typically a very mature roster of players and a close-knit roster of players. But it's going to challenge them, to work through this. There's a lot of frustration right now, even some anger. And there's no question that's going to be a challenge for them. But listen, and you said it, Max, this may be an example for others. And maybe in this instance, the NBA plays a part in helping others outside of the NBA, outside of sports in this country, get a better sense of how seriously we all need to take this virus and the potential consequences, not just in sports, but beyond.
Obviously, this is uncharted territory, unprecedented. But what are you hearing in terms of the timeline for the NBA's next steps?
Well, you had Mark Cuban on earlier, or the comments from Cuban. I think those align with what a lot of people are bracing for in the league. They would love to believe this is going to be 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It may not be, and the league has understood that, and they have been planning for contingencies for weeks now themselves. They knew, teams knew, and executives and owners I talked to in recent days, even before the events last night in Oklahoma City, many of them had an expectation there would be games lost. They didn't know how many. So the league's been working on this. It's going to challenge everybody in this league, players, owners, teams, league office, to kind of find a spirit of cooperation to try and salvage this season. At some point, it might mean, as Mark Cuban said, pushing the season into July. There may be scenarios where they delay the start of next season based on how long into the summer this league has to go. Those are all questions right now that no one has answers for yet.